Hey, everybody, welcome to a special Saturday night homecoming edition of Cup of Ray. I wish I could tell you guys and girls how long I could sit here and play with this shot. It's such a beautiful shot. Of course, I'm out here in front of the brass captain across the street from Saltwater Hippie right here in Madeira Way in beautiful Madeira Beach, Florida. Tampa Bay, if you will. Happy Saturday night. Happy Sabado Gigante. That's what I titled the show. Not having a sponsor, quite a few feelers out there, but not yet having a sponsor for the show and not having quite a hashtag or anything that we're beholden to or having to actually hashtag it to gives me the freedom to, like, when I'm creating, I'm just like, what am I going to do? Okay, Cup of Ray, which nobody cares about, Sabado Gigante, whatever, hashtag beach vibes, hashtag Bucks. So the Bucks lose to the Lions last weekend, and everybody posed to have the Bucks at 3-2 at this point, and what going into the season, victories were supposed to be so short anyway for your 2023 Buccaneers. But what it means to now, you got the Atlanta Falcons coming here. Of course, we already took care of one. We already took care of one game, if you will, versus a divisional opponent versus the New Orleans Saints at New Orleans. But now this week, you got the Atlanta Falcons coming in there. What, Dirty Birds? Yeah, Dirty Birds to Raymond James Stadium for what is, again, I wish I could set it up and give you a nice teaser and then cut it to Cup of Ray, but then you know what? I'm going to do it anyway. What I call trend. No, it's not a trendsetter game, but for the rest of the season, a statement game, if you will. Because you got the Buffalo Bills next Thursday night versus the Buccaneers, of course, on the road there in Buffalo. So you got the divisional opponent this week, and you got Ritter. Last weekend, not as much, but the week before started to find Kyle Pitts, started to find Drake London, Bijan Robinson. Wow, we got an offensive line, and we got a defense. So they start finding their momentum. And the Falcons, where I posed the dangerous team for your Buccaneers in 2023, even though everyone else like, well, Dennis Allen, those Saints are going to do something. And really, be honest, Bryce Young and Frank Reich and those Panthers, nobody ever cared about. But I mean, truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, this Falcons game is a statement game. That's the word I was looking for. I apologize. By the way, how's my audio, everybody? If you can just tell me. Got to put the old man goggles back on a second here so I can see it, get my comments up. But how is the audio out here again, I'm out here in front of the brass captain and the Saltwater Hippie on a Saturday night here. Just a beautiful night in Tampa Bay. And let me get the comments up here. But I pose to you guys and girls, as much as the Buffalo game is next week, as important as the Detroit Lions game was last weekend, as important as, continuing to see the Buccaneers hopefully find a running game here in 2023 and everything else that goes along with the team that you expect or hope can be the winner of the NFC South for the third consecutive year. This weekend versus these Atlanta Falcons, it's a statement game. And on the other side, we'll take your comments. Why do you think maybe not, that this isn't as much of a statement game, maybe as much as I do? Or your thoughts here on a Saturday night college football? The Seminoles are up, I believe, maybe by 10. It was 3 a moment ago. It's a Cup of Ray from out here at the brass captain on a Saturday night. Your comments readily accepted. I'll see you on the other side. Sorry. So, let me put this on my Facebook page. I had somebody hit me up, Gus, somebody possibly coming in here, a little guest on a Saturday night. So again, I said homecoming I put a homecoming hashtag. By the way, how's the volume, Christopher? Sounds good. Let me throw it on the screen, brother. Christopher Cole, my guy. I asked him how the audio was. He says, Ray, sounds good. Thank you, brother. So I called this the homecoming edition. So welcome to the I know the Michigan State game is on. That's a sleeper. I know the Florida State Duke game is on. I was so excited to see USF, the USF Bulls, get that victory on the road against I want to say UMass, but no, it wasn't UMass. Oh God! But get the victory on the road, out of conference, first victory on the road, out of conference since 2019. Watched great game today. I thought that the Tennessee game, Alabama, was going to be a little bit better. Tennessee made a huge. Hoople is the coach for the Tennessee. Made a huge mistake going. I said it at the time. I'm watching it with Tristan, and he goes for it. It's like, okay, we want to have a team that the team knows we got their back, and we're going to go for it on fourth down. You had a 3-point lead. You just given up points to Bama. You went for it on fourth down on your own 48-yard line on one. You don't get it, and of course the Tide literally turned and then rolled, as in the Tide rolled right over those Tennessee Volunteers. So no, Peyton Manning will not be smoking cigars again this year like he was last year. Love the comments coming in here. Christopher Cole says 17-17 Duke is driving, so there's a game. All right, cool. My guy Harry Berg, Harry the Greek says audio is great. Harry, thank you, brother. UConn, I know. Yeah, right. UConn was the game. The USF Bulls get that big victory, and temper expectations, of course, first. Let's just the USF Bulls, they turn that program around. They're going to start, let's look for look for the silver linings, but you get a victory over UConn on the road in a game that they were actually down at one point. And yeah, Christopher Cole also says UConn. So you know what? I'm going to bring my guy right in here because I am on my battery tonight, so I don't know how long the show's going to be. And of course, you guys and girls remember I talked to this cat before the game last week versus the Detroit Lions. Bring him in here. My dog park buddy, good friend of mine, came on a show last week. He's coming from the man cave tonight. Mr. Brendan Sherman. Brendan, let me bring you in here. And then let me throw you on. Oh, there you go, brother. Good. So,
mic check.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you like nobody's business. So, you were at the game last week. You had family coming in. First, you hit me up on Friday. You said there was a lot of Honolulu Blue on the plane coming in with your family that came in from Detroit. What was the breakdown last week? Just to go ahead, let's just pull that Band-Aid off right away. The breakdown last week with the Detroit Lions fans at that game versus the Bucs.
So, I mean, yeah, you could tell immediately pulling into the tailgating lot. Even prior to that, right? Like I mentioned, I picked up my dad, I picked up my my brother from the airport. They came in on separate flights, actually, that just happened to land at the same time. And Tampa, and they both said the flights were like 80-90% Lions fans. They were all chanting, singing the fight song and whatnot on the planes. It was kind of rowdy, everyone drinking, having a good time. And I could see it when I pulled up to arrivals there over at TPA. It was the blue. Like you see everyone's supporting the Lions stuff. And I'm in a handful of those Facebook groups and whatnot, and I see everyone posting, the Lions fans are out and about around Tampa, downtown St. Pete, some of them over here on the beaches. And yeah, you could tell it was just kind of, they travel
I'm going to give you credit though. The funny thing was, my girl Shanicia Bryan, I got a lot of our faithful big Bucks fans, big followers, the Leatherheads. Also, we've got the Bucks Life fan crew over there. But they even said the Lions fan and the Lions fans that we hosted, they were so nice. She said, "You guys were so kind," which is so great. And I'm acting like it's a surprise because I go back to Wayne Fonts and Barry Sanders and of course Billy Sims. You and I talk. You guys have always been pretty good. You're getting your moment in the sun. Who do you guys face this week now?
So we got Baltimore tomorrow on the road at 1 p.m. It's a tough one. We're 3-point underdogs. So I mean, given on the road, they say in the NFL, road home team gets 3 points out of the way, so it's essentially even.
Yeah.
So it should be a good one. I don't think I'm not expecting the same sea of blue like you saw over at Raymond James this past Sunday. I'm not sure we're going to travel as strong to Baltimore as we did Tampa, but I think that there'll still be a good showing for Detroit for just your average attendance for away fans. I think you'll still see them out there. But in terms of the game, they're coming back from London. They played in London last week.
Right.
The Ravens did. So, relying a little bit maybe on that jet lag, we'll see. But, they're a good team. That defense they got over there. And
and
it's strong.
But you're gonna have a scout watching out for all day for Lamar. So I mean, it's like, and it's gonna be a great game. And let me do this shout out to Kate Kennedy, my daughter who just moved to Baltimore now. She literally the business, the the animation group she works for, they are actually on the same property as the stadium there where the Ravens play. So she won't be working tomorrow, but shout out to Kate. But let me jump right into it. What's this stuff with Jim Harbaugh? Okay, I remember the cheeseburger during COVID or whatever.
Yeah.
We knew it was silly. It was a self-imposed thing. But this week, of course, now the thing is with the advanced scouts showing up, and it looks like they found someone already to throw up. But is this just a witch hunt for Jim Harbaugh, or what's going on here, Brendan?
Yeah, I mean, I think it all kind of starts back, with what we call Cheeseburger Gate. He took a recruit over to the Brown Jug, which is a sports bar, right there on South U in Ann Arbor, iconic place. What I think is kind of funny. It's an average cheeseburger at best. It's not a place you go and eat food. And regardless, you go and drink a beer with some buddies and whatnot.
Right.
And it seems like such a minor offense. And I think the NCAA was maybe a little bit ticked with Michigan trying to get around it and not being honest about it at first, trying to hide some of that evidence, and then with the self-imposed suspension for Harbaugh, trying to make it out like the 3 games, 3 cupcake games are out of the gate are going to be sufficient. They'll probably bleed into next season too. We'll see what happens, but I think that kind of ticked him off a little bit. So you know. Harbaugh's always been one of those guys who's a little rough around the edges. He's not a great rule follower. He's not a poster boy for the NCAA. He's had his qualms with the NCAA, and
Right.
even dating back to when he was at Stanford, and was it San Diego State prior to that? He's had some issues. So,
it's funny though, going back to when he was a rookie draft in Chicago out of Michigan, and he always thought outside the box. He goes to Chicago. Of course, he follows Jim McMahon and the Chicago Bears and what they had going on there, but he was always a cerebral thinker, always. And of course, he comes from Harbaugh, their father, both Jim and John's father was a coach, so they were raised at the right ilk.
Yeah,
Jack. Yeah. So, but Brendan, how much of this is just because don't forget, I think the NCAA or the FBS or whatever we're calling it these days, they're over here going, don't look at FanDuel and MGM and Caesars and all that and what's going on here, and forget about the NIL and the portal and everything like that. But let's pick on Jim Harbaugh in Michigan, and it's like, I mean, it's a narrative, but don't Michigan fans start to feel at the end of the day sometimes it's a narrative that you guys are just picking on us for no reason?
Picking on us, definitely no reason. I don't know how many people will agree with that. I think we give people reason to hate Michigan fans, right?
Oh, okay.
Harbaugh, we love his antics. We always, love his thinking outside the box and different way of doing things, and we take pride in that, I'm sure. And and we know that the NCAA disagrees with a lot of the his approaches to different things. And so, you couple that along with just the success, right? Michigan's a powerhouse. The last 2 years they've been in the college football playoff. They're the number 2 team in the country, putting up more points than anybody else. JJ's going to be here in the Heisman talk, especially after this first half. He just had against Michigan State. He's putting up numbers already. Michigan's the team to beat right now. And
I like it because Florida State. What's the score? Do you have a score in Florida State?
Yeah. Duke ended up getting a field goal on that drive. So it's 20-17, 30 seconds left.
I got to tell people out there watching that, Brendan, my guy, I'm like, I want to talk Michigan ball. I want to talk Jim Harbaugh, but you got to keep us posted on the Florida Duke game or FSU game.
I got all 4 up in the man cave right now. I got the quad screen going, so I got all the big games on. Ole Miss Auburn's looking like it could shape out to be a good one too. And then I got USC here as well.
Brendan, you were at the game last weekend. Do me a favor. I got to flip it over for Bucks.
Let's flip back to the NFL for sure.
Oh no, NFL, but Bucks fans. The Buccaneers have trouble with that running game, and one game a career does not make. We know that the history of the last year and everything with it that Baker Mayfield went through, but did Baker Mayfield look completely lost to you? What was, as a Lions fan enjoying last week's Lion victory over the Buccaneers, what was the Buccaneers' offensive major disconnect that you could see, Mr. Brendan Sherman?
Yeah, that's so surprising. Baker had been playing so well to start the season, and you give this team an extra week to prepare for the Lions as well.
Yes.
Coming off that bye. And for him to come out with that showing, he just couldn't move the ball. He wasn't finding his receivers. Really struggled to get the ball to Mike Evans. I think he only had a couple targets there in the first half. Most of his balls were going to Godwin. I think that Tampa really lacks that tight end play as well. I saw Kate Otten got maybe 1 or 2 catches on the game. One of them was a great catch, and he stretched upfield for a nice first down for him.
Right.
But Detroit played really tight coverage. They threw a lot of different looks at Baker, which he clearly wasn't prepared for, despite having the time to prepare. And then the run game was completely shut down. Rachaad White's not the answer. You guys need to figure something out there. Shit, bring playoff Lenny back. Go trade for Derrick Henry.
Well, and of course,
He's about to go for cheap. They need to do something if you want to make a playoff run. You know,
yes.
Saints, despite losing the other night, they look like a decent team, and they
Uh,
will creep right up on you guys if you don't start stringing together some wins.
Well, I'm going to throw some love out to the Wise and Mathis show. Of course, Nick Wise and Chris Mathis on Saturday mornings, locking it down on WDAE. They were literally, I'm today, like, I got to tell you, Brendan, I'm like looking for excuses to keep going around because I know I can go to iHeart and I can restream that show, which I'm going to because I was on it and I was a good part. No, I'm kidding. But the fact of the matter is that, the rumor was this week that, a proposed rumor from CBS Sports, nobody actually in the room, no Jason Light, but what if the Buccaneers were to float a draft pick because of maybe to get somebody away from Tennessee, to get somebody, a Derrick Henry away from Tennessee? Did you see because the Buccaneers offensive line last week, they kept Baker clean in the pocket. I mean, we're talking about against one of the better defensive lines or front sevens in the NFL and
Yeah.
your Detroit Lions, and we kept him clean in the pocket, but the running game was DOA.
Yeah, the O-line, you're right. They pass protected pretty well. I want to say the Lions only got away with 1 or 2 sacks on Baker, all said and done. You kept Hutchinson real quiet. I think he had 1, 2 pressures on the whole game. Guy who's leading the NFL in pressures going into that game was virtually non-existent. So, um, yeah, that O-line's a little bit strange. I went and looked at like the PFF grades on some of those guys. Your rookie, that new one, the one that kind of looks like Ryan Jensen, the redheaded kid, he had a horrible game there for you there at guard. And Tristan Wirfs obviously did well, but yeah, there was some sloppy play there on the O-line from what I could tell. Oh, Ray, you there? It looks like freezing up. Did I lose you?
So I said, I'm not sure I'm going to do the show out here because it was a bit slow. And then I
Yeah, I
started
got you.
walking around.
You're back.
Yeah, there you go, brother. I started walking around down here at the Brass Captain Saltwater Hippie, and it's actually kind of lit. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this.
Okay.
And again, Brendan, I appreciate you coming in here. So the running game was non-existent last week versus the
Yeah.
Buccaneers. Would you say though? Again, I got to ask you for the Bucks fans are on, from someone who behind the lines, if you will, as a Lions fan. You didn't see this Buccaneers team give up last week, did you? Or what did you think the Buccaneers can improve on as we face a divisional opponent tomorrow in these Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah. So I think, I hate to pin it on one person, but Baker was sloppy. Your wide receivers were running great routes. You're making good play calls. How many deep balls did he miss? So you go back to that
Oh,
interception that he threw. I mean, that was tipped off the line, and Detroit got away. Will Harris got away with that interception. That ball didn't get tipped. You probably had Mike Evans over center for what would have been like an 80, 90-yard touchdown, right? He was open, and then he also missed
yes.
your speedster deep twice on a couple balls, and he was open. So like it you do have things going for you, but you need Baker to dial in on these long balls because that's what you're lacking. Detroit was shutting down the run game. You found yourself in these third down situations time and time again, and your receivers were open, and just Baker wasn't hitting them.
I'm glad you said that because and I was talking again of Nick Wise. I guess this is turning into a Wise and Mathis, promo hour. But I asked him today because he was talking about, the Bucks shouldn't go for Derrick Henry. They should save that proposed from CBS Sports third round pick for a trade for that cat. And see what they have here and
Yeah.
get ready for next year. Not giving up. And I said, well, wait a minute now. If you're giving up on this year, let's say whichever one of these NFC South teams they lock it in at 7-10 and they win the South, which is probably going to win the South in 2023.
Yeah.
So what would it behoove the Buccaneers to? Because here's the thing about that Baker Mayfield pass, that first interception. I'm not trying to throw Baker under the bus, but it wasn't a defensive lineman that blocked it. It was a middle linebacker that blocked it, which means that ball at 10 yards down the field was still gaining height. And didn't it feel like that he saw Evans in the last second, but he just didn't have the ability to get the ball over top of that middle linebacker to hit Evans in stride?
But calling Baker short.
That was a roundabout way, wasn't it? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it comes down to that vision. You got to be aware of where everyone on the field is up front, at least on that path from you and the guy that you want to throw it to. You need to be
Right.
aware of that. An arm's going to come up and knock that if it's a potential, which it clearly was in that case. So, yeah, that's on him. It was sloppy play. That's the game plan seemed okay for Tampa. That part of it was good. Just yeah, Baker had an off day, and he said it in the presser afterward too, right? All he had to say was, I sucked.
I got to apologize for this. You and I, we did this. We literally across the street there at Frabada's
Yeah,
last
I
Thursday.
did. I ate there last night.
Dude, it's not for that Detroit style pizza, right?
Oh yeah. My wife and I were over there. It was good.
The beautiful Alasia. But who's the? I hate this. Sorry, I had Taco Bell for lunch today. Who's that running back again that you guys from Chicago was a free agent, but
Montgomery. Yeah, he has
David Montgomery.
He went out injured in that game.
The moment David Montgomery goes down, obviously, and I think it proved out that the playing field got a little more level for the Buccaneers. As a Lions fan, you're waiting for, because you talked about the fact that you give him that free agent money, and you're like, we're going to ride that horse, and the Lions have. He goes down. Of course, you got your other running back, Gibbs, coming back this week too.
Yeah.
You guys must be feeling pretty good about that. Now, what's the deal on Montgomery? Is he still out, or is he also going to be coming back too?
Yeah, no, he's out for the foreseeable future.
Oh.
Not a whole lot has come out on the injury. What we know is some cartilage damage in the ribs from him. I think the general hope is that he'll be back after the bye week. So we have Baltimore tomorrow. Following Monday, we host the Raiders at Ford Field for Monday Night Football, and then we go into a bye week, and then we're on the road in LA at SoFi playing the Chargers. And I think we're really hoping that Montgomery is going to be ready to go in that Chargers game, because that's preseason.
Yes.
Like it could be, one of the tougher ones, if not the toughest on the schedule, and I think that's still the case.
I want to show your range. The Eagles lost or the Niners lost last weekend. Of course, the Niners lose to Cleveland. Which was the bigger surprise to you last weekend? Because we thought, pretty much we thought that those were the two teams almost. As a Lions fan, now you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Bite them on the kneecaps on the way down and up. But, of course, let's go and cover that first game at Cleveland, the Niners game. Brock Purdy looked downright pedestrian, of course, and we found out that without Christian McCaffrey, these Niners may be beatable.
Yeah, no, that was surprising. The road game, Cleveland's a good defense there, as they showed it. And they were out without their quarterback too. Deshaun Watson didn't play. You saw the XFL stud PJ Walker leading the helm there for the Browns, and they got it done. I know there was some sloppy play. Obviously the Niners had the chance to win it there at the end. Jake Moody missing a couple field goals. Shout out to him, rookie out of University of Michigan. I think 3rd round draft pick, one of the highest kicker draft picks in NFL history. And who's been on fire this year, and he missed a couple field goals. So that was splitting hairs. That could have gone either way. Just went to the home team that game for the Browns. Obviously, I think those teams play 9 times. Browns are only walking away with a couple victories. So I still think Niners are a good team. We'll see what's going on with these injuries. It sounds like Christian McCaffrey avoided serious injury, as well as Deebo Samuel. So I think they're still good, and a great position to keep their winning going, and I expect them to be right back on track.
What else do you see last week's games as you get ready for this week's game? I mean, was there any other game that you saw last week, Brendan, in the man cave there over at the Sherman Man Cave, as far as like a game that stood out to you? Because I mean, let's be honest. Here's the thing. I'll ask you. I'm transitioning how I am, Brendan. So like a year ago this time, we're talking about legalized gambling and the effect that's having on the National Football League. Then we're talking about here's a narrative that we haven't heard anything about in 2023, the officials and these calls. And it seems like, let me ask you this, Brendan. Here's my question. I found a diamond in the rough. Have you noticed that the officials on the field, whether it's college or pros, are relying more on huddling and hearing from like a magical voice somewhere hidden away watching video? And as a football fan, do you have a problem with that? Or as long as they're getting it right, whether you're gambling or not on a game, is that okay?
Man, it is frustrating when the call doesn't go your way, of course. And you hear it, players say it every now and then that the refs need to be held, more accountable for it, and more things need to be reviewable. And they're just not, which is, it is what it is. I don't know how much they're going to change the game. It changes a lot of the game. Of course, everybody wants a perfectly called game, but I don't know if any of us really know what that's going to look like. And, how long is that going to take? Is that going to make, our 3.5-hour games turn into 5-hour games if they're reviewing every call on the field? So I don't know what the right answer is. Of course, though, from the gambling side of things, you hate to have money on the line and it, not go your way over some sort of blown call or.
But we haven't heard that much. Brendan, I just realized how pretty you look. Let me go back to this one shot here in the man cave. You pretty good. Hey, you clean up pretty well, brother.
Got some Detroit swag up here as well, of course.
I love it. I got Kate Avison, and I've also got my guy Alec. Alex Sizemore or Loosemore. I'm sorry, but one of the things again in 2023 we haven't really seen that game-changing last-minute no or not or call or no call, and it almost feels
I
like
disagree. That Giants game the other day.
Yeah,
Darren
go
Waller
ahead.
in the back of the end zone for the game winner. I mean,
That was pass
he was
interference, right?
he was mauled, and there was no call on that. That was egregious there.
Is that more as a result of the Lions and the year they're having in 2023 versus the fact that that was a blown, beautifully missed call.
Some brass captain fellas there.
Got some brass captain out here having a good time. But
it sounds like they serve alcohol there.
Do they? I don't know. I'm not sure. Do you listen to PF? Did you listen to Pardon My Take this week?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I listened. And, and I love the segment. The Monday show when they recap all the games. And I love listening to them. Their take on the Detroit game as well. And Big Cat said something which couldn't be more true. Is I'm experiencing it right now. And if you're from Michigan and you're a Michigan fan and you're a Detroit fan, he's
right.
Like your weekends must be awesome. And he nailed it. Like. I was just talking to a buddy right before I jumped on, and he asked me what I was doing this week, and I was like, well, I'm watching the Michigan game Saturday. I'm going to watch the Lions game tomorrow. I'm not sure I'm doing a whole lot other than that. Those are the things that we're looking forward to right now as football fans from the state of Michigan. Well, maybe not Michigan State as much. They're getting blown out 28-0 here. 2nd and 20. They're not looking good. They got problems there at Michigan State.
Michigan State, the most famous alumni from Michigan, Courtney Hawkins, back in 1980. Do you even know that name, Courtney Hawkins?
No.
He was a peel the top off the defensive receiver the Buccaneers drafted, but Michigan State. I'm a Michigan guy. But I love Pardon My Take, and I love the fact because Big Cat, of course, he's a big Chicago Bears guy, and it seems like between Justin Fields and whatever's going on, and Matt Eberflus, and of course he talked about it's funny thing was when he came around to liking Aaron Rodgers, becomes a Jet, and he's talking about he's rooting for Aaron Rodgers, and let's just go ahead and let's just talk about that. The fourth play of that Monday Night Football. And now Aaron shows up last week, I believe, or the week before. And last week, the Jets were hosting a Sunday night game, and Rodgers is out there without a boot throwing on a field. He's determined to get back this year with these New York Jets. I don't know if it's going to be too little too late, but I mean, at the end of the day, as a fan of football.
Big win this past weekend, right?
Huge win, right?
And that defense looks good.
But that's what we knew with this Robert Saleh defense. And I'm looking at I could go off on that, but go ahead and I don't think I have anything. I'm just having so much fun. I wish I could tell you what's going on in front of me here. I've got like about 70.
I've been to the Captain on a weekend. I can only imagine.
I was so wrong when I said this place is not lit, and I came down here.
Interception, Michigan. Let's go.
So what are you guys up 40 to? Are you guys 40 to nothing now?
Oh, he's taking it to the house. That's a pick six.
Oh, sure.
Mike Sanders. So that's his second pick six of the year.
Come on in. So I'm talking to this guy right here.
There's a flag on the play.
We're talking Tampa Bay sports. About the Bucks. He's a Michigan guy, and we're talking about last week's Bucks-Detroit Lions game. And then talking about right now he's watching college football, so Michigan's beat Michigan State pretty badly. So just a sports podcast. Yeah. Wait, what's that? Go Tiger Go? I can't do that.
Wait, what shirt
are you talking about LSU? Got an LSU fan here, Brendan. I have no idea. That's okay. We like to we don't hate the Tigers here. Have a great evening. So, do me a favor. I'm off my game. I got to tell you about this poor team last night. Of course, you and I talked this week. Tristan's homecoming was last night, and I had to drop him off. He's at his homecoming dance right now. Brendan, you're gonna love the story.
You give him the talk before Birds and Bees.
What's so weird? They gave him the talk, which is so bad. Well, no, I'm like, hey, I said, you're JV. You got moved to varsity. He played in 6 plays last night. He played in they moved up the quarterback also, Gavin Gallish from the JV. They moved him up as well, and Tristan got in there, and they ran quarterback keeper. Oh, another Tiger fan. Okay. All right, brother. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Hey, best broadcaster on the street right now. I promise you right
now. The best one out here on Madeira Beach on a Saturday night.
Definitely.
Brass captain right here.
Brass captain.
Here, okay?
Oh,
how good that smells.
Dirty. Man,
my brother, I appreciate you, bro. I'm Ray, by the way.
Angry.
Yeah.
Charlie,
Nice to meet you, Charlie. I appreciate you, bro.
Let's go, baby. Let's go.
So yeah, I was telling you. So I dropped. So Tristan, I had to talk with him, right, Brendan? And then
Yeah.
it's funny because I want to tell you, it's his very first dance, 9th grade, homecoming, and all of a sudden, he's gonna hang me, throw him under the bus. All of a sudden, about 6, the dance started at 8. All of a sudden, about 6:30, he's like, "Yo, most of the guys are getting there at 8:15. So if you don't mind, I'd like to, I said, Tristan, when you're ready to go, I'll get you there. I promise you." So yeah, I mean, first dance, proud of the kid. They had a team from DeSoto come up 2 hours. They came. DeSoto is a little bit east of Sarasota. They came up 2 hours last night. Osceola wins their homecoming 42-0. It was a great game. But yeah, Tristan actually gets a sticker on the helmet now because he got his first varsity play, and it was
Good
a
for him,
quarterback
man.
keeper. Yeah,
That's
he's living his best life. And of course, you met him
Yeah,
last week.
Yeah, he's a good kid. And I mean,
Appreciate it.
He has a football body too. I'll tell you what, he's a freshman and he's playing varsity already at Osceola.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Future's
Let
bright.
me get a couple of these comments real quick. All right, bro. Take care, y'all. Hey, go LSU. Wait, Florida State.
Oh, is he in?
Wait, he's a Tiger. You're a Seminole. You're a Tiger. I got a fight going on here. So I got right here. Let me
hit by a car.
And good evening, Ray. Oh, they almost did, didn't they?
That's
their Uber.
Okay.
And then Eric Christensen says, "Go blue."
Oh yeah,
there you go.
That's my buddy. Yeah, I was
Appreciate you sharing.
Talking to him. We were just watching the game together.
And Tim Haynes says, "Good evening, Ray." I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you making me, because I'm like Brendan. I'm like, I get down here and wait. Are you still You're such a Michigan fan. You guys are up. What's the score now?
They're reviewing that pick 6. I think it's official review on that pick 6. I've seen if they stepped out of bounds. That flag was on Michigan State. Some unsportsmanlike. But
what's the score now?
It's about to be. I think it's about to be 35-0.
Get the hell out of here! I'm just kidding.
My stance. That's a touchdown. 35-0, and the third.
All right.
Started. Yeah.
So Michigan was number coming into this game? Number 3?
2.
Were they number 2?
Yeah.
So LSU was, or FSU was number 4. Were they?
Yeah, FSU's 4. Yeah.
So give me the top 5, Brendan.
You got Georgia at 1, and they've been 1 preseason. Obviously, won the last 2 titles. No one's going to dethrone them until they lose. They got a tough stretch of games coming up here.
Yeah.
And then obviously, as we mentioned, you got Michigan at 2, and they've light work. They haven't really had a challenge this year.
Yeah.
3 Ohio State, 1 over undefeated Penn State at home today. That was kind of I don't know. I wouldn't say
they showed up.
Ohio State seemed to be in control. You watched that game?
Yeah, that was the game I was watching early, and then I had to flip it off because it was like, I mean, Ohio State did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, they did. They covered. I think they were like 4.5 point favorites. They ended up winning by a touchdown. So
Ohio
State got that late touchdown onside, didn't go their way. Their defense looked great. That's the only takeaway that I had from that game, is that Ohio State defense is not the same Ohio State defense that Michigan hung up 40, 50 points on the last couple of years, respectively. So I think that could be an issue.
When does Michigan play Ohio State? What, in 2 weeks?
No, it's like 4 weeks. It's Thanksgiving. It's a little over a month away.
That's always the game of the year.
Saturday at noon. My wife and I are flying up to Michigan for that game, so we'll be there in person.
Have you ever actually? Do you eat Buckeyes? I know they're like a kind of nut. No, I'm not saying you won't.
No, it's like it's like a I think it's a nut, obviously, but it's like the candy they serve. It's like a peanut butter dipped in chocolate, some shit like that.
I gotta tell you right now, I'm reading Belichick, the Bill Belichick novel, and it's so great because I forget the author who wrote about him. So yeah, we're going through all the channels. We just got through I'm on the Tom Brady chapter, but going back to Tom Brady in Michigan and when he first came up to New England, but Michigan's had quite a storied history. I mean, I go back to Brian Greasy, and I go back to, of course, Tom Brady, and we go back to Jim Harbaugh. I mean, you're talking about. I go back to 1984. I was 15 years old, and Brendan, you weren't even born yet, were you? God, I hate you. And I go back, and it was FSU in the Big House versus Michigan. I think Desmond Howard.
No, he would have. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, Desmond Howard would have been there. That's just after Anthony Carter. He was a big Michigan guy there at the super early 80s, early mid 80s. Yeah,
have I told you
there mid?
Yes,
I think more like mid late 80s, and whole slew of guys.
115,000 people.
So the 97 season. This is what I have highlighted here behind me. I got every ticket from that season. on this little thing behind me, and that was
Beautiful.
the big, national title year. Brian Greasy at quarterback.
Brian Greasy.
Tim Biakapatuka was big running back. He ended up going to the league. It's a great team. Charles Woodson, obviously the Heisman, the Heisman winner. Can't forget to mention him. Michigan, great.
Love the history. Have you? Okay, I'm going to go ahead. I'm just waxing now because I'm running out of battery. And Brendan, thanks for coming in here again.
Yeah.
Brendan Sherman, my guy on a Saturday night. Going back to Woodson and Tom Brady, and of course, both having been Michigan fans, but of course, Woodson was with the Oakland when they had the Tuck Rule game, and of course, going back, have you seen that special between him and Brady? And they had that thing where they went back and they broke. Have you watched that for real?
Yeah, no, it wasn't like an ESPN like 30 for 30.
I don't know. Yeah, I think it was like a 30 the way it was produced, but was that not phenomenal? Because you're talking about two gamers.
Yeah.
And I remember the Tuck Rule. Now, not just because you're a fan of Woodson, it was a fumble. Okay.
Yeah, what's a fumble? Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask you this: have you ever saw? Because Brendan, I'm testing your age here. Have you ever saw the Bert Emanuel catch at the Trans World Dome between the Bucks and the St. Louis Rams in the '99 championship game? You haven't, have you?
I'm not even going to pretend. No, I don't know that one. I'm not familiar.
Well, because I asked you because Bert Emanuel catches the ball over his shoulder, keeps possession of it, goes down to the ground, never touches the ground, but the ball just moves a little bit. The Bucks end up losing that championship. It was an NFC championship game. They lose the game 11-6 to the greatest show on turf, Kurt Warner and the Rams. And, of course, the NFL that offseason would literally change the rule to specify that as long as a receiver, the ball never touched the ground, the ball could, move like this, and they could still be held to have possession.
How many times has that changed since then, though? Now that then they introduced the process, and we know that well as a Lions fan, Calvin Johnson versus the Bears.
That's a great point. Yeah, go ahead. I like it.
Well, I mean, to this day, I'm not sure anybody truly knows what a catch is in the NFL. But yeah, that was heartbreaking. That was a catch. My God. And that just got us started off on the wrong foot that season. And what we had probably 4 wins on that whole year.
It's the little things, right? I mean, so you go back and like today, did you watch the Tennessee-Alabama game?
Yeah, I did actually.
Okay, so tell me that when Hoople and those when the Volunteers go for it on 4th down on their own side of the 50-yard line, tell me that wasn't the turning point of that freaking game.
They got off to such a hot start too.
They were
Tennessee seemed like they were in control. You were just waiting for it to turn. Maybe
the
game was in Tuscaloosa.
It's in Tuscaloosa, yeah.
Yeah, it's a tough place to play. I mean, that stadium holds over 100,000. I think their new one there. That's an environment.
What a douchebag! What a douchebag Nick Saban is, right? I mean, here's the thing, Nick. I get it. You're a control freak, and I'm reading that Belichick novel, and of course, Saban was the defensive coordinator for Bill Belichick and his Cleveland Browns 100 years ago. But you see Nick Saban now walking up and down, and we talk about the NIL and the transfer portal, and Nick Saban was having that battle royale, if you will, back last year. Don't you think that that's one of the things? Because Alabama always spoke for itself. This is where Forrest Gump went. This is Alabama. And then you put NIL and you put a little money on the front. The NIL and the transfer portal in 2023, Brendan, so far what you're seeing as a fan of ball, not just a fan of Michigan ball, but a fan of all ball, the NIL and transfer portal, and even with the breakups of all these, the Big 12, the Big 8, whatever they are, doesn't it seem like that somebody's got a plan for all this because the games they're giving us week in and week out are fantastic and we don't have a problem with it?
Nice stop there on 3rd and 1 for Michigan. Yeah, you got to assume it's all monetarily motivated too, right? And
yes.
NCAA finally catching up with the times, and they were talking about it pregame, and coming back to this investigation right now against Michigan and Harbaugh. The NCAA, they're very archaic. They have a lot of archaic rules. A lot of them don't make sense, and they have done a poor job keeping up with the times. And when they do change stuff, it tends to be reactionary. They're never on the forefront of things. They're never proactively seeking to improve their game. They're waiting for the scandal to come out, the tattoos at Ohio State, the paying the players at Alabama, whatever's going on in college basketball at Louisville with, those kids getting prostitutes and whatnot. They're waiting for teams to start screwing up, and then they'll adjust, then they'll change the rules, and similarly with the transfer portal, all these different ways of getting around it and the inconsistencies of kids appealing their transfer portal. Baker Mayfield, your quarterback, his transfer out of Texas Tech.
Texas Tech going to Oklahoma. Yeah.
And he was a walk-on true freshman starting quarterback for Texas Tech. He just, enrolls at Oklahoma, right? Didn't go there on a scholarship and wanted to walk on there. And, he tried to be able to play that first season there. And he was certainly had the talent to, being
right.
the freshman of offensive player of the year in the Big 12 that year. And, yeah, it's just tough. It's like you start looking at that, and the NCAA has to look into all these kids and their situation. And some kids get in a situation where they're able to, play right away through transfers, and other situations they're not. And they start to look at it very subjectively, and there's not a good way to draw, hard lines around it. So, they're just letting it all go, right? Like they use COVID as a kind of an excuse for saying, all right, we were going to probably look into the transfer portal now that,
yes.
Now that we have these weird seasons and partial seasons, and teams are playing games, not playing games, finishing seasons, canceling the rest of their seasons, here's our chance now to just like let it all go. And they have very light rules now in transferring, and then obviously NIL kind of coming in at the same time, and now all these kids.
But you said it. You said it. You said it a few minutes ago, or a minute ago. You said it's really, at the end of the day, it's all about the almighty dollar. And I mean, it's not just FanDuel and MGM and Caesars. It's not just networks, which it used to always be. Now it's literally about letting these teams. And I'll tell you what, I want to see, and I think you'll agree with me, Brendan, I want to see player protections for these kids, because at the level they're playing at and what's asked of them health-wise down the road, knees, shoulders, arms, make sure these kids are covered. It shouldn't just be you had a scholarship to Alabama and you chose not to. No, these kids are, not only are they entertaining us, but they are providing an avenue for many people to make a lot of money. And at the end of the day, we want to see protections for these players. We also need to make sure that these coaches aren't just allowing the portals to happen for the sake of building their rosters. There has to be, these kids have to be giving, because don't forget, and Brendan, I think you know this, once I declare for the transfer portal, my scholarship that I was already on for, Podunk University or whatever it is, that's now gone, because they don't have to save that for me. So we need to have protections in place. So really, at the end of the day, I mean, it's like I'm enjoying all this. Everything seems to be, we're getting all these great games, and every week it's another slate of great matchups. But at the end of the day, let's keep our eyes on the prize, and let's get protections in place for these dogs that are doing this for us, right?
No, I completely agree. And, and it comes back to the NCAA and their definition of like who these kids are. Are they athletes, or are they student athletes, right? And they tried to just lean on this defense of them being students first, athletes second. Like, they're coming here on scholarship, they're getting education, that's enough value. But look at the stats. Half these kids aren't graduating. 5% of them are Division I players or less are actually going to the league.
Right.
So where are you leaving these kids at the end of the day? Let them make some money. Let them, give them the health security and things of that sort. Help them, encourage them to finish their education if they aren't going to make it to the league, and don't strip them of their scholarship. Things like that. It seems a little bit backwards, but at the end of the day, it is about that dollar, right? These big television deals, the ad deals, the sponsorships, whatnot. And they got their hands in all that stuff as well. So it's a multi-function equation here, multivariable equation. There's a lot going on here, and it's tough to get it right.
Yeah. So you're not somebody who was actually in Raymond James last weekend. Talk again for us Bucs fans out here. Why should we not? Because there's been whispers, right? So the thing was, and I kid around because I went into the preseason. I had a thing called the Trask fieldometer, was, who's going to get this job? And of course, Baker dogs. He does what he do. And I love the fact that he's one of the captains and a leader on this team. But there were some people this week that, the Bucs, they lose to the Lions, which I posed wasn't that. Don't be embarrassed about that. This is a darn good Dan Campbell coach team. But what did you see from Baker Mayfield last week, and what can you tell me to give me positivity in tomorrow's matchup, again, hosting these Atlanta Falcons here at Raymond James Stadium?
Thanks. Yeah, so I wouldn't get hung up on the loss of the Lions, right? Like you just said, the Lions are a damn good team, and we don't take games off, or at least we haven't yet. I told you that was going to be the best defense you guys have played. You know,
And it was, yes.
You guys didn't score a touchdown on us. I told you that there was going to be at least 30,000 Lions fans at that game. There may have been more. I'm telling you, it was insane.
You were, yeah.
There, like you guys were going into the silent cadence on third downs with as many Lions fans as there were at that game. It was loud. And
hey, wait. First of all, wait. This just in. I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
And you know, we played the Falcons. We hosted the Falcons up at Ford Field week 3, I think.
Yes.
I want to say they might not have scored a touchdown on us. Maybe they got one touchdown on us. We beat them up pretty badly.
Yeah, your defense is pretty good. Your defense is pretty good.
Yeah, and I think your defense is good too. I saw a lot of good things out of that defense. You know, I mean, sure, giving up 350 passing yards to Jared Goff is what really ended it for you guys. Desmond Ridder is not throwing 350 yards in a game. I'll tell you that. He'll probably never have a career 350-yard game. And you know, you get him at home, and that guy makes mistakes. And your run defense is good too. You held us to very limited yards, so maybe you can isolate Bijan Robinson a little bit. You know, he's a tank, and he had some stellar plays on us. We were the first team really to contain him this year, but that rookie,
yeah.
Out of Texas, he's big, he's fast. He kind of looks like Derrick Henry in a way. I just saw a Michigan shirt go by you there. Go blue.
Wait, did you? Let me work it back. I don't know if I got an answer out of you earlier. Talking again about Nick Wise from the Wise and Mathis show today. If the Buccaneers were able, this team you saw lose to your Lions team last weekend, though, but this is still a pretty good Buccaneers team, especially in a division like the NFC South. Would you be, as a fan, not just because, of course, you live here in Tampa Bay, Brendan, would you think the Buccaneers would at least possibly want to investigate having a Derrick Henry, or is this offensive line and the issues with the Buccaneers run game a little deeper than just a rock-solid running back like Derrick Henry?
So, I mean, let's start there. I think you guys, because of the division, let's touchdown Michigan, 42-0 with this extra point.
Nice.
Yeah, and real quick on the Florida State game, they're driving down the field. Oh, nice run on 1st and 10 there. They're getting, well, they're back on their own side of the field.
What's the score?
17-20 with the ball. But
okay, good.
They're moving it looks like. So we'll see what happens here. But anyways,
Derrick Henry, yeah.
Derrick Henry and a buck. Let's first try to, look at the team. Are they buyers or are they sellers, right? And I think given the situation, the weak division, the fact that you're 3-2, you're buyers. You should be buyers. You guys are very likely to make the playoffs, and you don't have a running game at all. So maybe you guys are the ones that win the Derrick Henry sweepstakes. It does seem like Tennessee, or he's not very happy in Tennessee and he wants out. I know he's sitting on somewhat of a contract. Those things can get restructured, right? So you guys don't take all that cap hit, at least bringing him in right away, even if it's a 1-year thing. I don't think that the salary concerns are going to restrict you from bringing someone like that in. It's just if, that's in Todd Bowles' vision, and, him being very defensive minded, who knows what his view of what the problems are there in Tampa. But the running game can't be overlooked. It's bad. And, when you bring somebody in like Derrick Henry, he's a bruiser. He doesn't necessarily need that offensive line to be, Detroit's or Cleveland's or Philadelphia's offensive line, or Atlanta, right? Offensive line there too. You don't need that offensive line for Derrick Henry to be productive and get you, into the end zone there in those red zone situations to, get you that 50, 60 yards, to get you those 3rd and shorts, right? So yeah, I think he'd be a great asset. It seems like a good match for Derrick Henry. I'd love to see him down here for your guys' sake, if that's something you guys are taking seriously. But I think first you got to decide, are you buyers or sellers here? As
brother, I can't
approach the deadline.
I'm sitting here. I'm talking to you, Brendan, Coach Brendan Sherman, my guy. I'm like in awe of your knowledge, and I want to. So we're gonna have to. And you and I talked about this week. Again, Alasia, I want to make sure I'm respectful of the missus, because I understand you got to keep them home.
She's sitting right here next to me, man. She's good.
Please tell her I said hi. Yeah. I'm gonna let you go now, so you can enjoy your Saturday night, enjoy your rest of your Michigan game, brother. I can't go blue. I can't thank you enough for coming in here, Brendan. I'll talk to you soon, my friend.
Me, Ray. Yeah.
No, always a pleasure. You guys have a great evening. All right, my friend.
Yeah, we'll link up again. Good luck tomorrow against those Falcons.
Good luck against the Ravens, brother. Take care now,
Appreciate
Brendan.
It.
I'm telling you what, talking about. So, and I'm going to tell you all right now, flat out. So I got Tristan at the dance till 11 o'clock. I can't go home watch football because I'm an old man. I don't know if you guys or girls have heard yet. And I'm going to fall asleep. And I got to make sure I pick that kid up after 11. So I'm like, I'm going to go down to brass captain and saltwater hippie, I'm going to drop a little, just I want to talk a little bit about this Falcons matchup tomorrow. I'm not going to be doing a cup of Ray on a Sunday. And it's funny because I'm talking to my guy Brendan, and I'm like, Brendan, it's a little slow. What do you think? And he's just like, yo, you want to talk ball? Let's talk ball. And go ahead. My battery's running low. And I want to go ahead and put this last comment in here. Carl Hardy, going back to what Mr. Brendan Sherman was saying, I'm buying. And I'm buying too, especially with these Buccaneers in 2023.